Images of the Switch 2 have been leaked by peripheral companies, rumours are circulating there'll be no more Xbox exclusives, and Black Myth Wukong devs are still positive about the Chinese games industry despite loss at the Game Awards. All of that today on TripleJump Gaming News. Hello, Ashton.
Hello, Peter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you feeling?
I'm good. We have had a busy week. I think we've finally all recovered from the Game Awards and just like everything that happened last week.
Everything.
But it never stops, does it?
No.
It never pauses. The first story is kind of the biggest story, but it did happen last week, so we're covering it first because if you know about it, you know about it.
You probably already, if you're really into your Switch and you're constantly looking for Switch news, you will have heard about this. But yeah, it is worth talking about. But
absolutely.
As you said, it was a busy week last week, and then some people weren't in yesterday. So yeah.
So company Dbrand, who are a bit controversial and make Nintendo peripherals and other game peripherals, have seemingly, and according to them, have actually released what the Switch 2 is going to look like.
Yeah, they posted a teaser image on Twitter/X on Thursday, and it showed the back of the case and the message, "We will not be answering any questions at this time."
Yeah.
Which was kind of bizarre. I mean, around the same time, we've not really got it in our notes today actually, but around the same time, someone was posting on Reddit saying, I have got like a prototype Switch 2.
Yeah.
And I'm, people were obviously very cynical saying, oh, sure you have. And apparently a mod, I think it was on the Gaming Leaks subreddit, a mod DM'd and said, I'm going to delete your thread immediately if you don't send me some proof. And apparently they sent some proof via DM.
Because the mod then replied being like, guys,
I cannot tell you what he's shown me, but he has actually sent me proof. So yeah, various Switch things coming out around the same time, which is interesting.
So this is specifically is a CG render of a translucent case in which you can see the console inside, which you could very much be like, oh, they're just making it up. But they have said that this is in fact the successor to the Nintendo Switch, and it looks the same as the leak that came out a few weeks ago, which was just the carry case.
Yes.
People were like, that's definitely a different Switch. It's very similar to that, if not identical. So we're getting kind of a few different feedings of like, this is what it's going to look like.
It seems to be that Switches have been distributed to certain companies, or at least, some of the kind of specs of it have gone out there, and that's where some of these leaks are starting to come from now, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, this is the first Western peripheral manufacturer to announce or to post an image of it. We've seen it before from Chinese companies.
Yeah.
However, Dbrand is kind of known for doing controversial stuff to kind of get eyes on their products. They last year released a unofficial Zelda-themed Switch decal, which says, go flip yourself, lawyers, but not flip, in code on the dock, because they were upset that the Switch were releasing an official new Switch that had Zelda decals on it when they could have just given them for like 40 quid, basically.
But if we are to assume that this is accurate information and the image is to be believed, then apparently the Switch 2 will have an extra button on the right Joy-Con alongside the home button, with the capture button seemingly still on the left Joy-Con. So already people are breaking this down, talking about what new features may be in there and slight size changes and all kinds of things. People are getting very excited.
Yes, indeed. I mean, there's also lots of rumours that we'll get a release date by Christmas, which it's not going to happen. They're not going to announce the Switch is coming out just before Christmas. They're going to wait until Christmas is well and truly finished with. But I'm wondering how long they're going to wait, given that there's now more and more examples of the Switch being released all over the internet pre this announcement. I mean, Nintendo stuff gets leaked all the time. Like, we get stuff that's coming through. People were playing Zelda on PC before Zelda even came out on the Switch. Like, things have happened over the last few years which have leaked stuff from Nintendo. And this is a big shame that they're not the ones getting to announce it. However, I don't really know what they expect. If you're sending this information out to companies, unfortunately, the companies can get away with it by saying, well, it's just a carry case, actually. It's a translucent carry case, so it's not actually our fault that you can see the Switch through it. So
it's no surprise, really, they are so litigious, Nintendo, just as a company, because they're constantly, these things seem to be happening. They must be furious constantly with everyone they work with. There was actually, you mentioned before, the Go Flip Yourself code on the dock that was released last year. There was also a code apparently hidden in the carry case image, which when converted into text reads, "Why are you decrypting this?" So less swearing in that one.
They're also calling it the Switch 2 Kill Switch.
Kill Switch
is the name of the carry case, which I think is quite funny, and they're begging for Nintendo to tell them off.
Yeah,
and you know what?
Switch.
I think it's quite funny.
It is, yeah.
But so yes, the Switch 2. Google it if you fancy knowing what it looks like.
Yeah. Apparently, the logo, according to that Redditor I mentioned earlier, is just the established Switch logo with a big 2 next to it.
Lovely.
Apparently.
I mean, works for the best of us, isn't it? Putting a 2 next to it. So next, Xbox. So this is rumours again.
Yes.
But apparently there will be maybe not as many Xbox exclusives, if any, going forward. We're talking game exclusives from first-party companies launching exclusively to Xbox.
This is surprising. I think the extent to which this that this is being taken is surprising. I mean, we already knew that Xbox is kind of moving away a little bit from exclusivity, and that they, the likes of Indiana Jones is a timed exclusive, and there have been little rumblings about, maybe Halo might come to PlayStation next time. I don't know, maybe.
Well, we've seen a lot of games that they've announced recently have had PS5 also at the end. I mean, the Outer Worlds 2 is coming to PS5. Again, we don't know if it's going to be the same time as everywhere else. Doom: The Dark Ages we know is coming to PS5. So there's definitely a lot of little signs here and there that we're expanding out to other places.
We knew that this was a direction they were going, but the way this is being reported, it is almost like there will be close to no exclusives. So this is according to Windows Central Executive Editor Jez Corden, not James Corden, who posted on Twitter/X this weekend. Xbox won't have exclusives going forward. Everything is timed exclusive at most, he claimed. If some games are exclusive, even though he's literally just said everything is timed exclusive. If some games are exclusive, it's going to be incidental at best. The case-by-case argument is by and large going to be multi-plat, timed, and with maybe a few, very few outliers. So
this guy is not an Xbox insider. This isn't coming from Phil Spencer,
no, it's not,
for example, but he works for a company that reports almost exclusively on Windows games and Xbox. So obviously has some insider knowledge that we don't necessarily have. But he also talks about how Fable probably won't be exclusive because the game was monstrously expensive. It might not be day one, but it'll come with a current plan in place, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was in response to someone saying, well, there's no way Fable is going to be going anywhere other than Xbox. And he said, well, yes, it might actually. It costs that much. I mean, and this is the thing about exclusivity. Like, I think competition has always been a good thing, and exclusives have driven competition, which is usually good for the consumer over the decades now of console wars, in air quotes. But on the other hand, the good thing about non-exclusivity is that it does it increases the audience share a great deal for any given game, and Fable can now be sold potentially to PlayStation users, maybe even Switch users, Switch 2 users down the line.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really love when everyone can just share. It's nice. I was going to say, like, maybe they're doing this because they're struggling to get the they're not getting any accolades. We've not seen that many accolades going towards Xbox exclusive games in a long time.
Phil wasn't clapping
Astrobot. But to be fair, that Astrobot is also an exclusive, so I guess that kind of backfires on me a little bit. But I think that, it's a good thing, and I think it benefits everyone for these games to be available on multiple platforms. You get a more diverse range of gamers, you get a bigger pool of money for your developers to take from, and I just think it's a great thing. And I mean, I know people will say that Xbox needs to be more exclusive because they need to sell more consoles, but clearly they care more about selling games as the individual game rather than let me sell my Xbox console. I mean, they've already somewhat lost this race with Sony when it comes to PS5, Xbox Series. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to do a change of strat and start putting your games everywhere.
We've been saying for, a couple of years now, it feels like, and particularly on the podcast, that it does feel like a sensible way for them to go might be to kind of, in a generation or two, just completely move into Game Pass and maybe not even do any hardware full stop. So, just try and sell Game Pass as a service that people can sign up for, like a subscription, and or just develop games for any old console and be a really good game publisher.
Yeah. Matt Booty, who's Microsoft's president of game content and studios, also told Variety this month that we are very much making the exclusivity and windowing decisions on a game-by-game basis, and each of our studios is in a little bit of a different position. So I think the openness that they have is quite interesting, and I think it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this, whether we'll get all of their new games coming out on PlayStation 5, or if we'll only see a select few.
Yeah, and this coming a month after Phil Spencer said they won't rule out first-party Xbox games going to PlayStation and Nintendo. So that's it from the horse's mouth to an extent.
A prerogative inside of Xbox to start sending those games out elsewhere.
Yeah, we'll have to see to what extent it happens, because that sounds like a pretty significant extent.
Indeed. Well, now on to Black Myth Wukong.
Yes.
They're a bit upset about the Game Awards.
I think they were as sure as we were that they were going to win Game of the Year.
And then they didn't. I mean, Alana Pierce spoke after the Game Awards saying that she saw that one of the devs for Black Myth Wukong was actually crying when
that's not
Astrobot won Game of the Year. And there's been a lot of discussion from the devs. Specifically, we're talking about Feng Ji, the CEO of developer Game Science, who has been talking online about his feelings about the whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, it took some stuff home. It got Best Action Game and the fan Player's Voice award. Yeah, which is it's not to be sniffed at, but I think they were perhaps hoping to clean up a bit more. He has written saying. Yes, I must admit there's a sense of loss and regret. More than anything, though, that's a letting go of illusions. The games nominated this year were all exceptional, but honestly, I still can't figure out what the criteria were for Game of the Year. I feel like I came all the way here for nothing.
Yes, this is from social media platform Weibo, which is Chinese exclusive, and it has the quotes that are coming out of this have been translated mostly by machine, so some nuances may be lost in terms of is he joking about I came all this way for nothing? Is that funny, or are we sad about it? But then he does carry on talking about the players, saying there's a lot of dissatisfaction and frustration from them, and he's saying that there's often been expressed humorously or ironically, which made me laugh. I completely understand these feelings and share the frustration, because behind these emotions lies not pain or malice, but dignity and confidence. When you're so confident and yet don't receive the recognition you expected, it's natural to feel upset.
Yeah, that's right. I've seen a lot of people getting cross, not even so much that a specific game didn't win, like, for example, Black Myth Wukong or something else that person might be a fan of, but specifically that Astrobot did win. I've seen a lot of people online saying, can't believe this game won, and then posting clips of I'm just watching it that's that fun gameplay I enjoy. What's your point?
Yeah.
Don't threaten me with a good time. So there's definitely been a lot of talk online about it. It's the same every year, though. Whoever wins and whoever loses, you always get people coming out of the woodwork saying it's a travesty that my game lost, or that this POS won.
I mean, I don't think it's always as vocal in terms of the developers themselves being
not from the developers. No,
I'm a bit disappointed and I don't really know why this other one won, which is essentially what he's saying. He can't figure out what the criteria was for the Game Awards. But I think it's very interesting to see it coming directly from the horse's mouth, if you will, about what they feel about the whole situation.
Yeah, to be clear, developers aren't calling Astrobot a piece of flip. I'm talking about fans of other games.
He mentioned in this post that he wrote his acceptance speech 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Which, again, not sure if it's a joke, but of self-deprecating humour, or like he's actually being like, guys, I wrote my speech 2 years ago because I was so confident we were going to win.
The community have rallied round the game a little bit though, posting lots more positive reviews on Steam immediately after the Game Awards, declaring it the real game of the year. So I mean, it's nice to know that the actual the Black Myth Wukong community are kind of consoling each other. But
but then they also ruin it again by review bombing Baldur's Gate 3 on Steam,
that's
mark.
The less good bit about this story,
Potentially because Larian boss Sven Vink?
I had to say this the other day, and I don't know if it's Vink or Vinka.
He presented the award, and people can't tell if they're review bombing it because of him or because Astrobot's not on Steam when they can't review bomb it anywhere else.
That's probably it.
Yeah, but he was still positive. He still was happy at the end of it. He had kind of had like his little moment of ranting, but then he was like, actually, it's all going to be all right.
Yeah, this was no fluke, he wrote. It's the inevitable outcome of Chinese culture, Chinese talent, Chinese business environment, China's game industry, and gamers worldwide coming together. Game Science is fortunate to have participated in and witnessed the beginning of this tide. I believe many more peers will, in the future, bring higher quality, more engaging, and more confident Chinese stories to the world. And that, I think that is hopefully the take-home story of Black Myth Wukong's time in the limelight over the past year or so, in that it has been a big victory for the studio, and it's great to have seen something so popular come out of China, and hopefully there'll be a lot more. It's just a shame that some people were a bit disappointed with the results at the awards.
Absolutely. Well, let us know what you thought. Be kind and respectful in the comments, if you would. And make sure you're following all of our social medias to find out the latest news. Fraser posts all of the top stories on news every single day. Yeah. And come along to the podcast on Saturday to find out in a bit more detail what we maybe talk about, the top stories of this week. There might be more. Yeah. You never know. It's only Tuesday.
Yeah, and there'll be more news videos throughout the week as well, as you may have said. I don't know.
I can't remember.
Shrug. Anyway, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.